how you prepare for a golf tournament?
Well, I hit balls maybe 20 minutes, putt a little bit, smoke 4 or 5 cigarettes, drink 3 Diet Cokes, and go to the first tee. Some days I won't even go to the range.
Sounds like a good day to me. Welcome into the Daily Puck Drop. We are in the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber, the Northwest premier supplier, specialized lumber and moldings, family-owned, and serving the Northwest since 1930. Summers here, that means it's a deck and fence season. Get yourself a new deck and fence, and go contact Paul and Matt and Mark, our good friends over there at Limback Lumber, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber. It is MLB Trade Day. Welcome in. July 30th. It is a Tuesday. Thank you for watching and listening. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure you like, leave a comment, follow, subscribe, all of it. It all helps, please. And please follow on all of our social media platforms. Puck 2040 on X and Instagram. Yes, we're on TikTok. It's unbelievable. At Puck_sports. And, of course, on Facebook, just search Jason Puckett. All right, here we go. It is a Tuesday edition of the DPD. We do it every single day. We release them at 10 a.m. for your listening pleasure. It is Tuesday, as I mentioned several times. Also, it is a Major League Baseball trade deadline day. The deadline coming up at 3 o'clock today, Pacific. We have got a special live MLB trade deadline show coming up today starting at 1:30. We're going to go 1:30 to 3 o'clock live on X and also on YouTube. So, again, if you're not following, please follow along today starting at 1:30 there on X. Again, Puck 2040 there. And then on YouTube, it's just search, go to YouTube and just search Puck Sports, and you'll find it there. Click the notification button, and we are going to go live today at 1:30. Jim Duquette, former Major League Baseball GM there for the Orioles and Mets, is going to join us at 1:30. Duquette's going to go for half an hour, give you the very latest of what's going on in MLB for half an hour, 1:30 to 2 o'clock. And then we are going to go to Boston, and Ryan Divish of the, I almost said the News Tribune. Ryan Divish of the Tacoma News Tribune. Now, Divish of the Seattle Times will join us starting at 2 o'clock. And I told them, hey, man, I'd love for you to stay the entire time. You don't have to. But the plan is to have Divish for the full hour, leading you up there until 3 o'clock. And we'll see what the Mariners could do here on the deadline. They have been active, massively have been active in acquiring talent. They made a move earlier this morning. Chris Davinsky, a right-hand pitcher, he was outrighted to Tacoma, so that clears up a roster spot. So that kind of lets you know that they've got something brewing right now. What are they going to add? Well, still, you look at first base as still kind of an option of what they can do there, despite the addition there of Justin Turner yesterday, because you can move Turner around. I mean, Turner could not only play first base a little bit, which he hasn't done a ton of with Toronto, but obviously has experience doing it. You could play him a little bit at third base. He could certainly DH. Now you've got more options to where you don't have to like DH like Mitch Garver or Cal Raleigh, and then the other one's got to catch. You don't have to have those guys both in the same lineup. But Vlad Guerrero Jr. is still going to be out there. Again, all the indications from all those Major League Baseball insiders have said that they're not going to move him. Duquette's going to come on today at 1:30. Later today, he's been consistent with saying that they're not going to move him. So don't expect Vlad Guerrero Jr. to be traded. But I would just hold out a little bit of hope. Never say never in these things. Sometimes you just offer a team a package they simply cannot refuse, and it ends up happening. So I don't know. It could happen still. Luis Robert Jr., the word is not expected to be moved. We'll wait and see. I'm not sure what the White Sox are doing. Why would you just trade everybody? Freaking dumpster fire. Just get rid of the whole team. Who cares? Wade Lamont Jr., we've talked about him, at least Divish and I, several times on the podcast. And again, just repeat, Divish coming on today, 2 o'clock to 3 in our live MLB trade deadline show. We've talked a lot about Lamont Wade Jr. and what a great fit he would be for the Mariners. And again, high batting average, doesn't strike out, just makes contact. And that's what they need. They need guys that don't strike out and just make contact. 295, he's an OPS of 819, OPS plus of 140 right now. We'll see what the Giants are going to do. I mean, they traded Jorge Soler yesterday to the Braves. All indications are they're going to trade Blake Snell today. He'll be massively coveted. I mean, you saw the ransom that the Blue Jays got for Yusei Kikuchi from Houston. Imagine what Blake Snell's going to get. Blake Snell's a better pitcher than Kikuchi. So we'll wait and see what the Mariners are going to do. Will they add? Well, I think they want to add another bat for sure, despite Turner. And we'll get to Turner. It was a good trade. It's a solid trade, man. He's a solid Major League Baseball player. And he's a solid veteran guy in your clubhouse. We'll get to that in a second. Even the addition of Garcia the other day, I think is not going to prevent them from wanting to go out and probably find another. Oh, hold on. I played that a little too early. I'm going to get to this in a second. I played it just a little too early, a little sound bite. And we got something new here for your video folks. Usually we just have sound for the guests that we've had on, but now we've incorporated a little of the video to go along with it. I mean, I don't really know how this works. I'm a village idiot when it comes to this stuff, but I think it's going to work. Anyways, I was a little premature on playing that. Bill Kruger yesterday on the show, when we were talking about guys that they want to add, had mentioned, and I think this has been talked about before, but not in these terms. We think they're going to add another bullpen arm, but I thought after they added Garcia that they probably were done. You know, Garcia, Santos, Munoz, Gabe Spire. Okay, I'll roll with that. But Kruger yesterday said they need another arm because for Bill, he doesn't trust Gregory Santos.
Which I don't think that's good for a late inning guy. And then he tries to pitch with his slider. And he can't throw his fastball for a strike. He throws 99 miles an hour. He can't throw for a strike. People sit slider against him. They sit slider. If you've been watching, they're putting balls in play.
Okay.
He's not beating anybody. And I just don't like the makeup at the end of the game. To me, he's going to have to take a couple steps back and show me he can do it because I don't see it.
So that's Bill Kruger. In case you missed it, that full podcast is up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Of course, YouTube. They're a great place to just watch it. Again, make sure you like and subscribe, follow, leave a comment. Also, all the content up there at pucksports.com. But made an interesting point about Santos. Now, I mean, it hasn't been that many outings for Santos, but I'm not going to sit here and debate the pitching style with a guy that played in Major League Baseball. Okay. But if you do look at his last few outings, they've been erratic. And Bill just sees something with him that he's not totally convinced is going to play out late in games. There is some tantalizing ability and arm ability with him for sure. He said something I didn't play there in the cut that I found interesting. I don't know if I've heard it before. I think I have, but he had mentioned in yesterday's pod that his fastball, what did he say? Doesn't play big. And I asked him, I said, well, what does that mean? His fastball doesn't play big. And he says that it's not that he tips it, is that when he drops his glove, he shows he's exposing what he's throwing right to the hitter because he drops his glove so soon. And what he said by not playing big is that you see the fastball and it's right away. It doesn't play as big as it should, despite the velocity coming out of his hand. It was interesting. I don't think I've ever really heard that before, but it was a great kind of breakdown that Bill had on Gregory Santos. So again, I don't think he was completely through cold water on Gregory Santos. I just think that I think that they still could use an upgrade in the bullpen. And you've read all the reports here recently that they still are looking. So they may share the similar concerns. Now, what's out there? Kruger has said this many times, and I don't think it's just because he's a left-hander, is that he still thinks that they need a left-hand arm down in that bullpen. Well, there are two names out there. One would be Tanner Scott of the Marlins. It's believed he's going to carry a pretty hefty price tag to go out and get Tanner Scott. He does have a high walk rate. That's probably something the Mariners don't like and don't love. But again, you want to talk about available arms on the market from a left-handed perspective, he would be right up there. The other guy is going to be Andrew, is it Chaffin or Chafin? Chaffin? Chafin doesn't sound right, but Chaffin of the Tigers, who looks the part. That guy, he looks like one of us. Guy gets off the bus, mustache, the long hair, beer belly. I mean, he looks like a beer league softball player. He could be an option for them. 3.16 ERA in 37 innings, strikes out a bunch, 50 guys, 16 walks. So just keep an eye on those two left-handers that potentially Seattle could be interested in. I know Adam Jude of the Seattle Times wrote about both those guys. Also had mentioned Pete Fairbanks. Now, Pete Fairbanks, I'm all in on, one, because he is an unbelievable interview. If anyone's ever seen his post-game interviews, he's freaking hilarious. Hilarious. He'd be great. Someone already mentioned on social media the great back and forth that he and Divish would have. He phenomenal. A phenomenal, entertaining addition to any team would be old Pete Fairbanks. And he's good. He's a good reliever. 35 Ks, not a ton, 16 walks, 3.11 ERA. But again, someone that you could probably get without having to give up a lot. And the Rays are just selling everybody. I mean, the Rays are just parting with everybody in the world, including probably Yandy Diaz, who is going to be made available, the first baseman, therefore Tampa Bay, which, again, would make sense for Seattle, despite them going out and getting Justin Turner. He signed through 25, club option in 26. See, I thought he was a free agent. I thought he was a rental, but went back and looked at it there on Spotrac, and no, he's got one more year. He's got the club option in 26. He's a free agent in 27. He hits, again, average 270. His OPS this year is 723, which, again, these numbers for him are down. And that's kind of been the reoccurring theme with all of the guys they've acquired. I mean, just be honest. Rosarena's down year. Diaz is on a down year if they were to acquire him. Turner's on a down year. I mean, they are buying guys that are on down years, but hoping maybe the change of scenery will help them here in Seattle. Now, they're down years when you still look at it, like we did it the other day with yesterday with Turner. I mean, Turner's OPS is second highest on the team. That's just how bad the Mariners offense has been this year. But back to Diaz here for a quick second. Again, the theme is also this. They're acquiring guys that have high averages. 287 career hitter, and then his strikeout rate is phenomenal, 14%. Beautiful. The other guy that has been mentioned, because the Orioles have a log jam right now at first base and different options they could play there. Ryan Mountcastle, the right-handed bat, he has been rumored to be available, 27 years of age. So, again, a guy that you are a younger, more controllable player than Diaz, only 27, 276 this year, slugging 448, OPS plus at 118, crushes left-handers. Could be an option there for Seattle. So we shall see. It's going to be a fun day. Again, our live deadline show will start at 1:30 today with Jim Duquette of MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM, former GM of the Mets and the Orioles. He'll go 1:30 to 2. We'll do about half an hour with him. And then Divish will take over starting at 2 o'clock from Boston. And here's what I'm hoping with Divish, that he's in and out. Like, he gets like the phone call while he's doing the show, or he's got to be interrupted because a deal is happening. So if something does go down in that last hour, we've got the number one guy that covers the Mariners with us for an hour. So we'll see who it is. I want to play one more cut. One, because I really wanted to check out this new video cuts that we can do. That's really more than anything. But I do want to play this cut from Kruger yesterday, because I wanted you guys to hear, in case you didn't hear it, his comments on Randy Arozarena, because he is a big fan. And when I asked him, I thought maybe he would say something negative about him, but no, I mean, Bill Kruger's all in on Randy Rosarina. And that's a good news because I love Rosarina too. I think there's a lot of people that like Rosarina.
Tenor of the club changed when they got a Rosarina. It just felt like, whoa, right? We got a guy. He's a real bona fide 5-tool guy that can hit in the clutch and hit in the middle of the lineup. He's a dynamic player. Wow, that's great. That's really helping us. We need that, right? And particularly, when 2 of your stars are out, it was an opportune time to just inject some enthusiasm into the team. And just a good player. Good player.
Yeah, so that's Kruger's comments yesterday on Randy Rosarina. They acquired him, of course, more than a few days ago, and spoke longly about him. That was a great pickup, and we'll see if the Mariners continue to be active again today on this trade deadline. And I think so far it's been I won't say it's a home run, but it's been very successful for them. They haven't stood pat. They've made moves to try and make them better. Have they gotten better? Yes, absolutely. They've gotten better. Did they get better yesterday? No. Yesterday they got bitch slapped all over the field and that damn wiffle ball field. And if you go back and watch the game, I mean, obviously the Abreu at bat there for Gilbert in the third inning changed everything. I mean, he struck him out. Should have been down 2-0. Get out of the inning. Was it 2-0? Yeah. Get out of the inning. Boom. No runs. No more runs given up. And you're done. But he wasn't. It just one of those things where the umpire missed it, didn't call it a strike, and then it just turned into just the longest at-bat in the world for Gilbert. He throws 40-plus pitches in that inning. Five of those 7 runs score after that. It was just a downward spiral for Gilbert and that team. And I do believe it's people always say, well, a game doesn't come down to one play. Sometimes it does. Because sometimes that one play, that one pitch, it changes the fortunes of everything, right? It snowballs into something. And I think that snowballed there for Logan Gilbert. The frustration. And then, for Abreu, you credit him because that was a hell of an at-bat right after that. He knows that was the third strike. He knows that he should have been out. You go look at the tracer, it was right there. In fact, I think it was the pitch before that or 2 pitches before that where he called that almost that same pitch, just kind of on the other side of the plate, a strike. So he should have been out of it. I liked what Gilbert said, though, at least after the game. Hey, listen, this game's hard enough to sit there and try to get 4 outs, but at the same time, and he's right, and it was just kind of cool to hear him say, I got to get out of it still. Like, I can't let an inning like that kind of snowball on us. And, that's on him, to get out of it. But I mean, right after that, it was just, it was home run. It was just double. It didn't matter who they put him. Here's the one thing that, normally on this show, we haven't been like, because there's a lot of people that come down on Scott Service for a lot of different decisions. And I don't think I've really done it that much with Scott Service, but I thought he yesterday made a huge error. Like a real big error. And it was surprising to me because of the position that he played. I for the life of me, do not understand why he kept Cal Raleigh in the game so long. Now you're going to say, well, if he takes him out of the game and puts in Garver and Garver somehow gets hurt, then you're done. Right? Who plays catcher? Yeah, it's fair. I mean, that's probably the thinking there. But again, this is why it goes back to, do they need to carry another catcher for situations like this? I just thought you got to roll the dice on that and take your chances. And I understand that if you put Garver in, then somehow he gets hurt. What do you do? Well, shit hits the fan, and that just happens. And that's sports, and you just deal with it and figure out who you throw in there. I don't even know who it is. Does anybody know? Leave a comment. Who's the emergency catcher on the team if something like that were to happen? Moore? Isn't that the only position that Dylan Moore hasn't played as catcher? There's got to be somebody on there. But the game got away from them yesterday, and Scott Service should have went out there and taken him out of the game. There was no reason for Cal Raleigh to catch anymore. First of all, They're running him out there every day. They're running him into the ground. He avoided a scary injury earlier in the game. There was another one later in the game. He's getting beat up back there. He's tired. Get him off his legs. All right. And I know if they would have asked him, hey, do you want to come out? No, I don't want to come out. Of course he's going to say that because he's Cal Raleigh. But I think because it surprised me so much because Service's plate was the catcher. And I just think with where the game was, you weren't going to come back from that. You're down 14 or 11 or whatever it was. You're not coming back from it. You're just not. I know they hit some home runs later, including Cal, and Rosarina had a great moonshot, but just think it was think it's the worst thing in the world. We're not going to just murder Service for this decision, but I think there was a time to get old Big Dumper off his feet. It's a long season. You're going to need him, and he's been catching a lot. You're catching him every day. He's playing every day because you really don't have an option back there. Maybe it changes a little bit now that you're acquiring more bats, so then you don't have to put Garver in there as DH, and he can strictly just be the backup, which is kind of happening anyways, but I don't know. I was surprised by that. Especially when the game got away from them. James Paxton gets the start today for the Red Sox against Luis Castillo. Paxton, been terrible, even though the Dodgers gave up on him. He was a 4.43 ERA, but his record's good. But he will get the ball today here for the Red Sox. Castillo will go for the M's. 4 earned runs in his last 4 starts and 25 in 2/3 innings. We'll have more on today's game. We'll release our podcast with Brad Adam today coming up at 1 o'clock, as we do all of our guests, by the way. Daily Puck Drop at 10 a.m., all of our guests at 1 p.m. I know some of you have clamored for them to be earlier, but I'd like the set schedule of 10 a.m. for this, for the Daily Puck Drop, 1 p.m. for the guests. I need a little breather in between. Sometimes a 15-minute cat nap. All right? Leave me alone. I get tired. So we'll talk to Brad about today's game, but also Brad's thoughts on leading up there to the trade deadline. What is he hearing? Here's the things. Brad hears a lot, but then can't tell us. That son of a gun. Let's transition over to the Seahawks camp. Well, it appeared the storyline yesterday was defense. I think everything that you read coming out of training camp yesterday down in Renton was the defense excelled. They put on the pads for the first time. They were hitting. Obviously, when they do that, the intensity of the camp is going to pick up and practice is going to pick up, and that's what it sounds like it did. So it sounds like Brian Murphy had a good day one there in pads. Mike McDonald's been kind of lukewarm on his praise, it seems like, since the second that they drafted him. But it appears that he performed well, had some good bursts, some good one-on-ones with the offensive line. Also appeared that the offensive line at times held their own yesterday with the defensive front. But all indications are defense won day one. Not surprising, right? It's the first time they get to throw everything on. And you just can't go half-ass on defense when you're doing like these walkthroughs and not in pads. And when you throw on the pads for the first time, you want to get after it a little bit. It sounds like they did. Tariq Woolen talking a little shit to DK. Love it. Nwosu, Red kind of knocking Jackson Smith and Jigba down a little bit, a little shoulder bump. I mean, I think we need to take it easy on some of these guys. Let's not injure JSN. But good for the defense. Tyler Lockett had noted that, and it was they tricked us a few times, confused us with where their pressure was coming from. And where guys were coming off the edge, you think they're coming one way, then all of a sudden that guy drops back, and here comes the pressure from the other side. So, that's a good, recap of what you're going to see from McDonald's defense. What you saw with the Ravens, where they want to try and confuse people. And, what the offensive version, like what McVay does, what Shanahan does, all that window dressing to try and confuse the defense. McDonald's defense is trying to confuse the offense there in the same way. But sounded good. Everything that I read coming out of it looked good. That the offensive line at times on the one-on-ones looked good. Charles Cross appeared to have a good day. You saw that first-team offensive line yesterday with Cross there at left tackle. Tomlinson there at left guard. Oluwatimi still being at center. The right guard, Anthony Bradford. Christian Haynes sounded like he had a good practice yesterday. George Fant was the right tackle. Still no update there on Abe Lucas. I know he was doing some stuff there on the sideline, pushing the sled. But again, this offense, we've said it a million times. It will say it till we're blue in the face. This offense has got all the capability and all the weapons that most teams don't have. I mean, just that wide receiver core, those two running backs, and that quarterback is certainly capable of making plays. But none of it's going to matter if they can't block. And thanks, Tips. But it's true. It just has been their problem for so many years, has been that offensive line. And that's, again, is the number one storyline starting camp, throughout camp, and at the end of camp. And it will always be the number one storyline, is how does that offensive line adapt to the blocking schemes there by Scott Huff, protecting these guys, because, hell, man, Ryan Grubb can have all the greatest plays in the world and design everything and trick everybody and feel like we're going one way and then we're going another way and doing all this stuff that he did at Washington. He was able to do a lot of that stuff at Washington because his offensive line was real good. And so if he doesn't have that same type of performance from his offensive line, I mean, it's obvious. They're not going to be able to do anything. Again, this is the type of analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. And you know what? To sum it up here, folks, kiddos, they need good offensive line play, huh? How about that? All right, let's wrap up the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. We do it every single day there at the end with Hey, What the Puck? It's brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold damage with their property restoration services. It is locally owned and operated. Go in there, say hello to Trent and Derek. They like human interaction. They're very personable people, and they want to hear from you. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. Their phone number, located in downtown Ballard, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right. I don't know necessarily if this is new news. It was weird because on yesterday's DPD, Jim and I were talking about this because he asked me about the kickoff rule changes. And, I mean, they're all over the place. And I know they're not that complicated. It's just the XFL rules. And he was like, do you understand it? And I'm like, well, yeah, they've got to be at a certain line of scrimmage, a certain yard line. They can't move until the receiving team kicks the ball. And they're trying to prevent so many kickoffs or touchbacks, trying to bring the return game back into it, but also bring the return game back into it where people aren't getting concussions. Anyways, but then I saw this story that came out yesterday, and I thought this was a part of the rule changes when they came out, but maybe this is new. In addition to the changes that we talked about yesterday with Jim, the teams for an onside kick must be losing to have the onside kick. So I think that has always been out there, but it came across yesterday as this was new news. Maybe they ended up passing it officially. The one that is just, it is so stupid, so dumb by the NFL in terms of the onside kick, which I think every fan loves the onside kick. I think the onside kick is awesome. You know, we saw it here up firsthand in the NFC Championship game, right? Seahawks Packers, when they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. What a great onside kick that was. I mean, misplayed by the guy for the Packers, but it was awesome. Teams must now announce their intention to kick an onside kick ahead of time. That's just so... Why? What are we doing? The whole point of the onside kick is to try to get the receiving team, catch them by surprise. And this is where I think the NFL is overthinking things. We are going to lose the spontaneity, the trickery, right, of something like we saw in the Super Bowl with the Saints and the Colts, where Sean Payton comes out of halftime, right, in the Super Bowl. They're not playing all that well. What does he do to start the second half? Onside kick. We lose that. Can you imagine Sean Payton having to come out in the Super Bowl and announcing to them, hey, I don't know who the Colts coach was. Was that Caldwell or was that Dungy still? Anyways, hey, Colts, we're going to kick an onside. We're going onside here. So get your hands team out there. Stupid. Just one of the dumbest decisions. NFL usually makes some pretty good decisions. That's one of the dumbest decisions that they have made. Other NFL news kind of came out of nowhere, but maybe not unexpected. Former Seahawks running back Rashaad Penny announced his retirement today. First round pick back in 2018, 27th overall out of San Diego State. I remember the second they got him. I loved it. I loved this pick. I was like, God, watched a lot of San Diego State games. That last year he was in school. I felt like they were always like the night game there on CBS Sports Network. And you're like, this guy's a great pick. This is exactly what Seattle needs. That's why I'm not in the NFL scouting department. He ended up just being, not good and never worked out, but announced his retirement today. And if you go back and look at that draft, 4 picks later, Lamar Jackson goes 32nd overall. That 2018 draft will really be remembered, it feels like, as the Josh Allen draft. Remember all that controversy of Josh Allen leading up to them acquiring, or leading up to that draft, because that was the whole back and forth with John Schneider and then Wilson's agent, because Wilson's camp got upset that they went out and watched Josh Allen at his pro day in Laramie. Like, why are you guys going out to watch him while we're negotiating a contract? I think that they were in a contract negotiation, I believe, at that time. Like, why are you guys going out there when you already have a quarterback? Why are you going to scout him? And then that camp got all mad and upset about it. Josh Allen ends up going 7th overall, and you've seen all the reports, I think, after that, saying how very much interested Seattle was in acquiring Josh Allen. And so was John Elway, because speaking of Allen, John Elway had recently just did a podcast and had played golf with Josh Allen, and I think in Lake Tahoe, and told him, he said, it took me a couple holes to finally tell him that his biggest mistake and regret as the GM, president of the Broncos, was in that 18 draft, not selecting him 5th overall. They ended up selecting Bradley Chubb, who they ended up trading away to Miami, but told Allen that his biggest mistake as a front office guy running the Broncos was not selecting him 5th overall, which is because you look at Allen and you see so much of John Elway there in Josh Allen, right? Big arm, fast. I mean, Allen's faster than him, but that must have been hard for Elway not to pull off that trade. And as much as I hate Horseface, still the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. He doesn't have the most Super Bowls as Brady or other quarterbacks, Montana. But if you give me one game, one drive, all of it on the line, give me John Elway. I just don't think there was a better, from what I've seen. I can't go back to the guys I've never seen before. But the 10, 12-year-old kid that watched that guy play in the Kingdome, for my money, there's never been anybody better than John Elway playing that position of quarterback. Just for me. All right, that's it for Hey What the Puck here as we wrap up the Daily Puck Drop, the DPD. Again, Hey What the Puck brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Again, your restoration company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operate them. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. Phone number 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right, coming up later, we're going to have the Brad Adam episode will be released at 1 o'clock. Also, John Canzano will get his thoughts recapping the Big Ten Media Day, a little college football sprinkled in there as we're getting closer and closer to college football starting. I mean, what are we, a month away? Yeah, pretty much, about a month away. So John Canzano's episode will be released at 1 o'clock today as well. And then live draft show, MLB live draft show coming up at 1:30 today, live on X and also on YouTube. So please follow those channels on X at Puck2040. On YouTube, just follow Puck Sports there on YouTube. We'll go live at 1:30, half an hour with Jim Duquette, and 1:30 to 2 with our GM, former GM of the Mets and Orioles, who joins us every Monday. And then at 2 o'clock, Ryan Divish from Fenway, as we'll talk to Divish, and he'll give us the very latest of what's going on, what he is hearing inside the Mariners Clubhouse. All right, the Daily Puck Drop released every day at 10 a.m. Remember, all guests again at 1 o'clock. Please like, follow, subscribe, and comment. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, and, of course, at pucksports.com. Always appreciate everybody listening and watching. And as always, we'll talk to you later. And, of course, we promise to be better.
No shirt, no shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!